cap, so we're fitting three routes into that space.
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
On that backside corner, right, that's a read corner.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that here in a minute. I just want to stay front side right now, so we can keep it
So is
flowing.
he pivoting on that dance?
Yeah, so he's going to pivot out. Yep. Some teams, I like to pivot out because you can get out faster. Some teams will run a post corner. That's a little bit harder to get in and out of the route break. The pivot's a little bit easier. So, whatever you want to do there. The idea is, hey, I want to run a route that still has read timing principles so I can fit in my progression, but it's attacking the uncapped space of the corner. Any questions on that? Okay, so now let's look at the backside here, okay? On the backside, here's some things we'll see. A lot of times we'll bring this guy in short motion and we'll line him up tight. When we do that, the corner will come down and try to play man or squeeze. When we see the corner coming down and our coach in the booth is saying, hey, our boundary side's uncapped, he's just uncapped route space for the corner. All right, so let's say we've been running Patriot, we're looking front side, and they know based on the splits, alignment, the situation, we're running Patriot, and so there may be cheating guys over or rotating, whatever the case may be. If uncapped space backside starts to present itself, we can make a tag with the play call for the quarterback, or our quarterback can just know by game plan that, hey, now I'm going to read the backside progression. So we always start with the rhythm. That doesn't change. All right. Now, once again, the principle, if you read the R4 book, we talked about 2 rhythm routes within a progression makes the second one a read because we're isolating a defender with our eyes. We're taking this safety right here, and if we look off this rhythm, he's going to flow or stay more square and float in this space or stay square and not think we're going here. So we're going to use this as a rhythm. When we hit the last step, if it's capped, we're going to reset and now go to the read corner into our progression. If the read corner is capped, our running back here is checking down, and he's now our rush route as a check down. So we've got a rhythm read rush progression built both play side and backside. Okay? And the only time we're really going backside is based on when we're starting to see adjustments that open up that space or see something that gives us that advantage and we want to get their backside. And that's by tag or by the quarterbacks just understanding the coverage there.
Does that corner route on the backside change his footwork, timing it off?
Yeah, so what we do on this is an 8-step corner route, okay? A 6-step corner is on rhythm, okay? That would break at about 9 to 10 yards. An 8-step is going to be over 10 yards. It's going to be about 12, okay? So when we talk about read routes, we go to yard depths instead of steps because everyone's going to have a different space length right here. So he's going to take his vertical route deeper to hold that safety, and then he's going to break it off when we come to it. Okay, so we have, when we say a read corner, our guys know to extend their routes beyond 10 yards. We're running a read route. We're taking a rhythm route and moving into a read category. This is advanced stuff. Once you understand the base principles are for, this is where you can kind of go a little deeper and understand how to manipulate the routes and the timeline to win advantage space.
Rhythms with footwork, reads with space here.
Yeah, so something you might want to put a note down. We teach our rhythm routes based on steps. Okay, so our receivers are running all the rhythm routes on steps. Now, the seam and the fade, it's more just vertical and when so there's really not a rhythm and step. In terms of breaking rhythms, like a corner or post, those are off steps. Any read route, like a curl comeback, any like a read corner, it's off yardage. Okay, and because people's stride length and things are going to be different. Read routes, you have more time, so you can have a little bit more fudge room in terms of the timing of the space. Okay. All right, so we understand, okay, in the families now, the 4 vertical family, okay, is used to attack, 1 high defenses, and if I'm running 4 verticals into 2 highs, I'm not taking advantage of the uncapped space. I need to be running some sort of 3 vertical concept. Now, guys, there's a million 3 vertical concepts. I mean, there's a lot out there. You pick the one. This one gives us the most variations, the most the ability to change the most based on what the defense is. So that's why I like this one the best. Okay. Now, from there, we go into another family of routes. Okay, and these routes have a little bit tighter splits, and they're used to attack a different part of the field. So we go to our curl concepts. Curl concepts are used to attack or create horizontal stretches. Okay, we can still go vertical with some curl concepts with vertical rhythms, but the premise of a curl route is to stretch a linebacker or a force player horizontally, and so that's when we have a weak horizontal flat player, like a weak, a strong safety or a linebacker that's not good in space, we're going to call curl concepts to put him in a bind. Okay, so all different ways to run curl concepts. Where we start as an offense is we'll just run it out of a 3x1 set. You can run it out of 2x2 or 3x1. Whether it's a spread or a tight end, we do it all. We're a multiple, we do everything. We do two-back, we do spread stuff. So let's say we're in a spread set here and we're running our curl concept is going to be our vertical rhythm's the same. Okay, we run a burst curl, and I'm going to talk to you why we run a burst instead of just a straight stem curl, and then the number 2's on the flat. Okay, so that's our curl concept, seam curl flat. That's not a new concept. Everybody runs some sort of variation of curl flat. Our rhythm route is the seam, our read route is the curl, our rush route is the flat. And we're using this concept to put a flat defender, okay, in a 2-on-1 situation that he can't win. All right, that's why we're designed. We're trying to stretch him horizontally, okay, and get a route on each side of him, putting him in a bind. Okay, what's the seam allow us to do? Well, it allows us to hold, okay, a safety here, or take advantage of it if he rotates down. It's an uncapped opportunity. Okay. Now, what do we do backside? Okay, here's some variations out of 3x1. I'm going to give you some ideas here. Anytime I have a single side receiver, he's always our rhythm option guy. He can run a fade, okay? He can run a slant, he can run it out. We can attack inside, deep, and outside space, okay? So that's our rhythm option. So no matter which way we throw, we're throwing off the last step of our drop, okay? And so our quarterback, if he has a man-on-man advantage backside, he always has the ability to go and attack that, because that's going to be our best receiver in our offense, okay? Now, if we can execute this in a game and the defense is threatened by this, what we're usually going to get is we're going to get 2 defenders, okay, on this side of the center line to take that away. So if you can have this guy in your offense, hey, congratulations, you're going to be able to do some things because you're going to hold the defense accountable. So anytime we've got this 2-cap look to the left of the center line, we know we got numbers, man-on-man advantage numbers to the field. And so that's going to hold us true, okay? Now, if we don't want to isolate this guy with an option route, another thing we do, and I'm just going to talk about options that you can have, because everybody's going to do different things based on your personnel. If you don't have that guy, we bring him on a tempo release shallow. Okay, we tempo it on the curl concept. And we want him to shut it down inside the tackle box right there. So he's now a rush route. Shallow route's a rush route. So he's going to kind of tempo release, and he's just going to come off slow and then burst across because he is a check down. Okay, this is our rush route versus pressure. This is our check down. So we have 2 rhythm options in this concept. We tell the quarterback, pick the one you like best when you get to it. And this is usually the check down. This is the hot route, rush route. So if he drops and he feels pressure, he's going to bang the quick wide. Okay, if he goes through his rhythm read rush progression and this linebacker takes the flat, and you have the middle linebacker that drops near the curl, we just replace that backer with that void with the backside shallow. Okay, so once again, this concept is putting a huge amount of stress horizontally on all of these linebackers underneath the hard deck. Right? And so when am I going to call, guys? This is the thing. If I'm seeing defenders underneath the hard deck, what concept families am I going to live in? Yeah, 3 vertical or 4 vertical, right? So that's what you're looking at when you're watching film. Use the hard deck. If you're seeing the secondary defenders that are living underneath the hard deck, you're not going to be throwing a lot of curl routes. Okay, you're going to be throwing routes above the hard deck, right? Now, if they're scared of you and they're seeing a lot of the defenses playing above the hard deck, we're not going to make a living with our 3 vertical and 4 vertical. We're going to go down now, bump down, and we're going to call more curl concepts. We're going to stretch these guys underneath. So that determines where you're going to live or where you're going to take into the game plan. Okay, so now let's look at the next concept. Okay, so here's what will happen when you're running this. Okay, the defense is going to try to take the primary route away. So the primary route's the curl route, right? So what we start seeing is a corner coming down, and they'll adjust coverage. So you start to get a hard corner, okay, trying to collision this receiver, or he might be playing that inside technique to cap the curl. But the point we're trying to make you see here is that when the corner starts coming down and playing inside to cap the curl, what is he just uncapped? Yeah, space over the top, right? So that's when we go to more smash concepts, all right? So how can we get to a smash concept without really just making one change here? We just take this burst curl and he turns into a burst corner, okay? So we keep, so the progression doesn't change. The seam is still a rhythm. The burst corner is now read is still a double move, and we still have our best rush option, okay, based on what the defense is covering in the primary and secondary progression. So what do we just do? It's basically a tag that gets you in a different play, but the progression don't change like Patriot. So our quarterback has the ability just to signal, okay, to this outside guy and tell him, hey, we're running buck, which is our burst corner, instead of bear, which is our burst curl. Everyone else stays the same. Or I, as a coach, can signal. So if I see the corner down capping, okay, the curl, or playing in the hard corner inside leverage position at curl, we'll adjust it to the burst corner. Okay, if you got a corner triggering on the flat and coming down and trying to cap it, okay, you're going to call the burst corner instead of the burst curl. So once again, we're adjusting concepts with one tag to get our primary route into the primary route space by the cap. Okay, any questions on that? Does this help you guys at all? Okay.
Yes.
All right, you want me to show you this? How to do that 2x2? How we do that 2x2? Same concept for the curl. So if you're a 2x2, okay, so if we're at 2x2, we still have all those same routes in play, okay? Now we just, our seam, instead of being number 3 on the trip side, he is now over here, okay? So that's still our rhythm seam to the boundary, okay? That's our, what we call our Y, okay? Number 2 to the field is still the flat, and number 1 to the field is still the burst curl, okay? All right, this guy has still got the rhythm option ability, or he's still got the shallow ability. We just signal him and tell him what to do. So he can be a rhythm option guy if he's isolated on a weak side boundary corner. If we don't want him on the rhythm option, he's still now the tempo release shallow underneath that. So it's still rhythm, read, and best rush, okay, to the field at a 2x2. Okay, once again, if we start seeing a hard corner, like you see a cover 2 or a 2 read, okay, instead of running the burst curl, we're going to run the burst corner and get the same principle stretch on the defense that we did at 3x1. Now, the thing I like this about 2x2 is our eyes are going to the rhythm that's opposite the center line, right? So, Coach, we talked about the advantage of that is it holds the flow, okay, of these defenders, and it allows when you reset, you can come here and these corner now will be more likely to trigger when the eyes go away because he's got to cover the route in his space. So here's what happens to us like this. Let's say we've got like a too high look and we call the burst corner concept here and they like to rotate on the snap. Well, our eyes are where? On that rhythm seam. So they rotate, they've uncapped it, we bang that. So it keeps these guys here so you have the man advantage to the field. So they can't, it forces them not to be able to rotate, or if you do, you can uncap that seam to the boundary. All right, so those two plays, our curl concept is protected by the smash concept. Our smash protects the curl. Okay, why we call curl concepts? We're attacking, we're putting a vertical stretch on a corner. Okay, why are we attacking curl concepts? We're putting a horizontal stretch on a linebacker. So, you know, when we watch film, I'm trying to see, okay, is this corner, is he triggered quick, or is he not very good? We're gonna mess with him with smash concepts. You know, if it's a linebacker that's not very good, we're going to mess with him with these horizontal stretch concepts. Okay. Now, what happens if you don't have one defender that you can just isolate and attack? Okay, then you go to what you call our flood concepts. That's the last family. Okay, flood concepts are like their own animal. All right, they're a standalone family. All right, they're a standalone family. They don't have anything. You know, you have to protect them with tags. But the flood concepts are solid. They usually have an answer for every kind of route, or every route has an answer for every type of coverage in it. All right, so in our offense, we're going to have a flood concept to the field, a flood concept that attacks the middle of the field, a flood concept that attacks the boundary. Okay, so here's our field flood concept. Now, you can run out of both 2x2 and 3x1. Just everyone runs some sort of flood. Okay, and we can do it different ways. But our flood concept is the skinny rhythm post. okay, and we run what we call a read cell route. Right, so it's a deeper speed out, so it breaks at 12 yards and it rounds to 15 yards. So because it's beyond a 10-yard, it breaks beyond the hard deck, it now becomes a read route timing instead of a rhythm route timing. Okay, so we call that the cell. So the rhythm skinny post is our rhythm, the cell is our read, and then we bring a rush route. Sometimes we'll free release our tailback out, and he can be the rush. Sometimes we'll put him to the boundary. We still have, number 2 runs the shallow, and then number 1 runs the dig. That's our backside concept there. Okay, so you can tag whichever backside concept you want. The main thing is when you run a flood concept is you want a rhythm route deep, a read route intermediate, and then you bring a shallow route or a rush route from some sort of area, whether it be a back or a backside receiver, to put a stretch on a third of the field. That's a flood. We're putting a vertical stretch on a third of the field. So what's the only thing that can take this concept away would be a hard corner, okay, like a cover 2 type corner here that's trying to jam your post, okay, or it's a 2 read where he's outside. That's the only thing that can defend this flood concept. So our quarterback knows, you know, the cap look that we don't like to throw the flood. So if he sees a hard corner, he's going to still look at the rhythm as a look off, and now we're going to come backside to the read dig, and then we're going to use our check down as the rush here. So that's what takes him the opposite way to the boundary if he sees the corner capping that flood concept to the field. So if we're getting rotation or we're getting a hard corner look, that's what takes us backside to our dig and our check down in that concept. Any questions on that? Okay, so if we did this out of 3x1, we just bring that number 2 receiver over and he's running the flat route, or however you want to work it. We still leave this single side receiver on a backside dig, so we can still have the same stretch. Okay. All right, so that's a field flood concept, standalone. Right now, if you want to work a boundary flood concept to the boundary, the short side. So let's say you got defenses that are rotating hard in the field or playing the field, and you want to attack them to the boundary. Okay, so now we're in like a 3x1 look. Okay, now we're working at like that drive concept we talked about last night here. Okay, so we're going to try to flood, okay, this side of the field to the boundary. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we run this number 3 receiver on what we call a sit route. He's going to sit down, okay, at 9 yards. Okay, depending on his speed. If he's a fast guy, you can put him at 10. Okay, but this is a rhythm stop route. Okay, that means we can hit this on rhythm. Okay, if it's a tight end or slower type, he has to be at 9. So the quarterback is going to catch. He's going to punch 3 to allow this to develop, because flood concepts take a while to develop. That's another thing you need to make in your notes. Is flood concepts are a punch 3-step play because they have deep stretches. All right, so when we get the last step of our drop, we're going to look at the rhythm sit route, and then if that's capped, okay, we got a safety here on the hash. He sees our eyes, look at the sit. We either hold him or freeze him with our eyes. Now allows time for this read post to break the corner cap. So we go rhythm, sit, read post, and now we're bringing our number 2 receiver across on the rush shallow. Okay, and when we put this concept in and install it, we put the back, that's the skinny post, we put the back as a check down to the field there. We install that.
Did you read post 9 steps instead of 7?
Yes. I'm sorry, this is a dig here. Yeah, so read post, he's going to double move, or he's going to work through 10 yards. He's going to close this cushion. That allows the time for us to use the rhythm as a isolator for the safety, keep him off. And we'll come over and get that. Okay, so we got rhythm, read, rush to the boundary. Okay, now if the secondary comes out and they're 2-capping this look, they've got a free safety over the hash here, and they're playing some sort of bracket, and they know we're running this boundary concept. The corner now can work to the field, and he goes rhythm sit to read dig, and then the back is the check down. So we have the ability, once again, okay, to always get to the side with the numbers advantage neutral. And so if they have a 2/1 in the boundary, that on the X, that means we have a neutral advantage to the field. So that's the goal here, is to always get the man advantage neutral to our side.
Doug, how does your receiver know, the X receiver know to run a read, post, or,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
do you have something tagged it, or do you?
Yeah, it's by how we install the concept. So they know when we run our flood concept, it's read post. That makes sense, okay? When we run our Patriot concept, it's a read post. We have signals for the rhythm where they adjust it. Like if it's man, he's under the hard deck, we know it's a rhythm now. You know, our read post is signed for zone coverage, and they know there's a second option in progression. So if we have concepts where the post is the first option, he knows he's the rhythm. So we control by how we install it. We don't throw a lot of rhythm posts unless he's an isolated receiver and he's like an individual tag. And we just, we see leverage that week. We say, hey, you're rhythm this week. So we control it by how we install it. But for the most part, I like post in zone coverage to be reads so they can break through that hard deck. Okay, now, so we can work boundary or field on that, and you can have tags that work off that. So once again, it's the same premise. Let's say the safety is on the center line, he's rotating across, he's got number 3, and he's capping that. So we got the corner playing a cap position for the post. He's over the top and inside, capping the post. So instead of running the post, we can run the post return. We can tag any route here that wins backside advantage. So we can tag comeback. If you like comebacks better, we can tag a comeback or signal a comeback. But it's still a read route by design, so we still go rhythm and then come back to the read and still have the rush available. So this is our best guy. So we're going to put him and have him have the ability to change his route to win the best space that the defense is given based on his cap movements.
What was your steps on that pivot outside there on the receiver?
We're at
On the left there?
right here the steps.
Yeah,
It's a read route, so he's running off yards. Okay, so are you talking about the post or this post return?
Yeah, post return.
Okay, so yeah, so he's going to push right here to 9 yards, or he would stick his 7-step. Okay, break up to 12, and he's gonna work it, pivot out from there. So it's a 12 to 13 yard break, depending on the stride length of your guy. All right, you guys have a good running back. Okay, that's a good receiver. We'll put him to the boundary. We'll call the same play, and we'll make a tag. Okay, that puts him on the wheel. So, coach, this is one for you. He just left, and we'll tell him when he gets out. Okay, so we put the back here. Now we're still calling the same play. Now, if we want the back on a wheel route, that's a read route. Okay, that takes long to develop. So now this makes the post a rhythm post. And so our receivers know when we make we call this Tahoe. Tahoe is the wheel for the back. When we make a tag where the back's running the wheel, he knows he's the read route, so he's going to run a rhythm post. So the quarterback now looks at the post as a rhythm. The back is the read wheel, and we still got the rush route coming as a check down underneath. So that's just a way. If we've got a good mismatch with the back on a linebacker, this is how we can still call the same play and get a great advantage there with that mismatch. And the progression doesn't change. It's still rhythm, read, rush to the boundary there. Coach, you stepped out. I was going to say this is one of the things that would tell us to override a rhythm post versus a read. So calling the same play, if we've got a running back that's a good receiver and he's mismatched on a linebacker, we can put him over to the boundary and we have a tag that tells him he's running a wheel, and a wheel's a read route. So our receiver knows in this play, when I have this tag called, or I know that a read route is outside of me, I'm now a rhythm post because the quarterback's looking at this first, the read is the second, the wheel, and then the rush would be the shallow. So that's a real common tag we'll call off of this concept when we have a good mismatch with our running back versus a linebacker. Okay. Any questions on your flood concept? So I just showed you a boundary flood, I showed you a field flood, and there's all kinds of plays that are flood plays. A flood play is what defines a flood play is putting a vertical stretch, a deep, intermediate, shallow stretch to a particular side of the field, and it has the time clock for the play is longer, so it has a longer play clock. So you use a punch step to let it develop. A lot of times, if you're an under center team, this would be a 7-step concept. I mean, you need a 7-step drop to let these stretches develop. So that's what puts it into that flood category. A flood category takes longer to develop and attacks it further in the field.
So they're good then for play action then, right?
What's that?
So they're good for play action
Great
then?
for play action, yes. That's a great question, Jeff, or great, actually, comment there. They're a great play action, that's your play action family.
Yeah, I was gonna say rollout would be,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, play action,
rollout.
naked bootleg, rollouts would all be in the flood family. A naked bootleg is a flood concept. Use your naked bootleg principles on flood concepts.
Coach, you've mentioned a couple times now your game plan, and you're looking hard at your show. How you
Sure.
you put up a clip.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at some of these
Yeah.
concepts and I'll show you how we do that game plan for sure. That'd be great.